Hello, and welcome to All Points Bulletin TV. I'm your host, Kendall Adams. This show is about unsolving homicide cases, where if you, the viewing audience, has any further information, you can contact us at the end of the show. Today, we have with us Miss Kyle Goodson. Tell us about your case.
Hello, Kendall. My son was a 16-year-old student at North Mecklenburg High School when he was killed in September 2005. Gregory was a senior, and that was his graduation year. On the 26th of September, he was on his way to school, and it was just a normal day. And he said to me that he had to work from 5 to close that evening. And I said, do you want me to pick you up from school? And he said, no, Mom, I'll be all right. I promise I'll be all right. So then I felt fine. I went to school because I was a teacher at the time. And so I came home, and about 11 o'clock, I just realized it was so late. Where was he? And then I said, you know what? When I worked at McDonald's, I came home late because Greg was working at a fast food place at that time. And I said, you know, when I worked at McDonald's, I had to clean up, and sometimes we didn't get home until midnight. He has his key, and he'll come in when he gets here. So I went back to bed. And the next morning, Kendall, I woke up to get him up around 5 o'clock. And I walked down his hall, and I said, Gregory, wake up. It's time for you to take a shower. And he didn't say anything. And usually I'd hear a grunt, a groan, or something. Mm-hmm. And I just kept walking to his room, and I flipped on the light. And he said, and I didn't, his bed was not slept in. Nobody said a thing because he was not there. And something just hit me that there had to be a problem here. Mm-hmm. So I called my mother, and I said, hey, Mom, did Gregory spend the night last night? She said, no, I haven't heard from Gregory. And all of a sudden, Kendall, I felt the pit in my gut just felt there was something wrong. Right. It was just so strange. He didn't do that. Right. And then that was the 27th of September, and we put out a missing persons report that day. And 3 days later, his body was found in a wooded area off Simpson Road.
And can you tell us about that day when you found out that was your son, and the process that led to them knowing that body was your son?
Sure. What happened was I was at the house where Gregory and I lived. Well, we lived in an apartment off Harris Boulevard, and I was just there, just thinking he was going to come. I just thought maybe he spent the night at a friend's, mm-hmm. and he'd be back. So I was at home and just waiting for him. Mm-hmm. And so, but this was in the process of me knowing he was missing. Right. So we had put a report in the day before, 2 days before or something. And my father called me on the phone and said, hey, Kyle, I want you to come over, because there was just a news bulletin on. It said that they found a body of a young black boy, African-American boy, in a wooded area off Simpson Road. He said, but I want you to come here and listen, because if it's him, you'll need us to be with you. Mm-hmm. So I immediately went over to their house, and the news came on, and they said that the same thing he said, that they found this body, but of course they weren't going to give any information. Right. But after a while, the police came, and they said that they found this body, and they were going to do a DNA test. So they left, and maybe about a week later, I was on the patio with my mother, and my sister ran to me and said they were at the door. So I guess she let them in, and we all gathered around the dining room table. And they said that the DNA confirmed that was his body. Mm-hmm. And that was it. A few months later, they said they found his shoes, because his body was found without his shoes on. And some months later, they found his book bag. Mm-hmm. And there have been no arrests in this case. Nothing has been done.
No further development,
nothing.
Names. Wow. Can you tell us about, how he was? Sure. His character, his
Gregory was a basketball phenom. He loved ball. Well, as a matter of fact, when I tell you I woke him up early in the morning, I did that often. But actually, he'd probably wake up about 4 and go out on the basketball court, because we lived in a place where there was a court, and he would go out there and work out for an hour, and then come back in and take a shower and eat breakfast and get on the bus. Mm-hmm. He was so disciplined about school, about work. He just had I didn't have to tell him anything. He just knew what to do. Right. But with basketball, he always wanted to go to a Division I school. Right. And one day I said, Gregory, No, he'd say a D1 school. And I said,
Right.
Gregory, what is D1 school?
Right.
So he said a Division I, Mom. And so he said he wanted to go to Georgetown, Syracuse, or UConn.
Wow. Okay.
Because those were Division I schools
Right,
where he wanted to use his talent. And he never had a chance, which
Right.
bothers me deeply, because he was so good, and he never got a chance to use what he worked so hard on, what he worked so hard to do.
And I also heard that he had a very close relationship with his grandfather.
Oh yeah, he and his grandfather were very close.
Right.
And one of the other things that bothers me to this day is that when Greg was killed, my father was probably about 60-something, maybe 66. And one of the first things he said to me was that he wanted to be here when they found out who killed him. But sadly, my father died in 2012. And it's 2000. I have a tissue. And it's 2015. And nothing's been done. So he didn't get a chance to see. And I'm still waiting.
Right.
And I think that too. What if I'm not here to know, and it's not going to bring him back, but at least give me some closure or something.
Well, I'm going to believe and pray with you
Thank
that
you.
information will be found.
Thank
and
you.
that you will get justice for your son. I'm going to
you.
really pray and believe that for
Thanks,
you, that
Kendall.
happens for you.
Thank you.
Do you mind telling us, did he play basketball in school?
He played JV in high school.
Okay.
But not here in North Carolina. We're from Connecticut.
Okay.
And he played JV in Connecticut. And when he was here, he wanted to try out in November. But remember, he died in September, or his body was found in September. So he died a few months before he could. And
yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
You can ask me anything, though. I'm okay.
Okay. And you know where in Connecticut? Because I was thinking I have some family members.
Okay,
My
well,
mom is from Connecticut.
he was born at Yale New Haven Hospital.
Oh, wow.
We lived in New Haven. We lived in Stratford. We lived in Bridgeport. So he had every part of Connecticut.
That's beautiful. Because we still have family members up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my uncle still lives in Connecticut. So it's been a while since we've been up there to visit him. But it is a very beautiful place.
Cold, too.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that. It's
very
very
cold.
cold.
It is. It's very cold. Do you have just any other memories that really stand out to you about your son?
He was a jokester. Greg loved to, he loved to have fun. He was never down about anything. He loved life. And he was, if I were to describe Greg, I'd say he was a balloon, not filled with air, but filled with hope and promise and such good things, but his balloon never took flight.
Wow. That is, when you said that, that his balloon was filled with hope, it took me back to the Black National Anthem. And in it, it's a line that says, where it says, unborn hope had died. And when you said
it's
that,
such a beautiful song.
It's such a beautiful song. And we sing it all the time, and because I go to a HBCU. So we always sing the National Black Anthem when we come together. And I've had conversations about that statement. And just today, in the world where we have so many young black men dying. And
from gun violence.
And with issues like Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin and all these black bodies that
Jordan from
street.
Florida.
Yes.
I can't remember his last name.
Jordan Farrell.
No, that's Farrell is here.
Farrell is Charlotte, excuse me.
But that's fine. That just tells you there are too many of them.
Yes.
So many we can't
remember
remember.
Who you're talking. The one who
he was playing loud music.
Right, and he shot into the car and killed him. But just saying that, it's like evil people are taking away these young men and children, and they haven't even reached their full potential. They haven't even reached their full potential yet.
Hope had died. Right.
And the hope died. It did die, and the world will never be able to see that. But prayerfully, through your family, how's your family doing?
It was really hard for us at first, and it still is today. but God has strengthened us. I tell you, I have to give him all the glory, because this is this is not for any human, you know. I can't even articulate to you how, in my own human strength, I couldn't do it. I know God has given me strength, because Greg was my only son, my only child, and he was just the world to me. He was just, I mean, it was just the two of us. So it was hard.
Yeah.
But for my family, we're strong because God has helped us.
Oh, yes.
I have to say that.
Yeah. Yes, and I just want to encourage you just to continue to be strong and continue to believe that God is with you.
God is doing
God
it.
gets us through those tough times. He really does.
He's doing it.
Especially, like I said, with stuff that's going on in the world. Just that alone, that really just pulls me and really hits my heart, because it's like time after time, it's just another incident, another case. These cases, you know, that I talked about in this show are just, you know, in these times you really have to rely on God, because if not, you know, your mind can really go to other places.
Thank God that I can say I heard Miss Price's story, and that we are still in our right mind.
Exactly.
You know, because this is just, like I said, it's more than for a human to bear.
Right.
It's just, you know, for one of my biggest memories, Kendall, if you don't mind me digressing from what you're saying, is that is the funeral, walking into the church. It was his casket. It was just so big, you know. Now he wasn't. I mean, Greg was 6 feet, but I'm not talking about big that way. I mean, but that looms so large in your mind, because that's for a mother. That's what you see. And I'm sitting there, you know, and it was huge. I mean, there were over 1,000 people there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just overwhelmed. But all I could see was this casket, and I know, but my mind didn't want to say that that was him. But I knew it. Right. I hope I'm not.
No, you're not.
The poor host can't take it.
No, you're not.
I'm sorry.
You're not.
Okay, I'm glad you have a strong.
Yeah. My dad was telling me about that a few years ago, because he lost his father.
To gun violence?
Well, not to gun violence, but he lost his father in a car accident, automobile accident, when he was around, I believe, 8 years old. My father was 8 years old at the time.
Wow, that's bad.
Yeah, and so he was just saying, even now at his age, he remembers that last moment of seeing his casket.
It looms so large.
Yeah.
That's all you'd see.
Right.
You know, you know the people are there, but for a grieving mother or grieving anybody, it's just grieving son, like you're talking about. The casket is so big. That's what you see. It's terrible.
Well, I'm glad that you're smiling and that
I'm smiling because you're so strong, and I don't know how you're doing it. Because I know that I'm a chair jerker. Sorry, Kendall.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Thank you.
So, I wanted to talk about. You talked about his love for basketball.
Oh, he loved
like
it.
At his, what was the age where you like really started to see that?
He was probably. First, let me tell you, his uncle played pro ball, so it was just in our family. It was just built in him.
Right.
But he was probably. He played ball from a little, you know, so probably 6, 7. He loved it. And I built, when we were in Connecticut, I built a basketball court for him in our yard where there were big strobe lights, so he could go out there at 11 o'clock at night. He could be out there whenever. And I knew he was protected because it was our yard, and the big strobe lights were, nobody would go back there.
Right.
But it was his discipline.
Right.
He didn't want to go to bed. He didn't want to play Nintendo. He just wanted to play ball. And he was going to be really great one day.
Wow. And that makes me think about myself, because I used to play basketball.
I can tell.
4th and 5th grade, I played basketball. In kindergarten, I played basketball as well. And I just remember the discipline that I had. I really wasn't trying to necessarily go into like pro, but I really enjoyed it. It was just something my parents put me in so I could stay busy.
And you really loved it.
And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. You know, of course, once I got to middle school, I started doing theater, and I started becoming very interested in theater and television. Yeah.
I think God made you for basketball.
Yeah, I know. I always tell people, I was like, maybe one day, you know, in a movie or something, I'll play a basketball player or something. Because I still enjoy it. It's a really great sport.
It is. And we just have the knack as African Americans. It just seems to just be our genes.
It takes a lot of discipline. My mom had put me in a basketball camp one summer. I didn't even know. And she was like, you know, I have you in this basketball camp. And I went, and it was just like 3 days of just intense practice.
Intense. Can you imagine being a pro?
Right.
or even college. I said, Gregory, you know what? College is not going to be anything like high school.
It's not.
I mean, you're going to be running up and down the courts. You're just going to, it's not going to be fun. You know?
Yeah. And there was a camp that they had put together, some of the men in the community with Nixon. He played for the Lakers, and it's called Camp Nixon. I don't know if they still have the camp now, but it was really intense. It was a very intense camp, and that's the same thing I was saying. I don't know how people in the NBA do this every day, because it was very exhausting. And I remember one time I walked in the gym, and we were like, it was me and one of my other friends at the camp, and we were just limping into the gym.
You had a whole lot of.
Once we got in the gym, stretched out and stuff, you know, we were fine. But then it started all over again the next day. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue to find out more about Mrs. Goodson's son.
This new dad is picturing a tree house in the sky, but he's ignoring the instructions. Good luck, big guy. His kids know that he's building without a clue. Never been so good with nails and glue. Now we're trapped inside a box. I hope mom knows what to do. Mom! See, you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Get your ass. You're not in here.
Yes, I am.
Move. Give it to him hard.
No. Ow.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why are you stabbing me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how.
Oh, you got...
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft. To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
This is the moment I knew. His future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Severe weather can destroy a home in seconds. There's no time to think, only time to act. Have a kit so you're ready for any emergency. Develop a plan for what you and your family will do before disaster strikes, and stay informed during severe weather any way you can. It can be the difference between losing your possessions and losing your life. Just ask the owners of this house. Visit ready.gov for ways to prepare your family for emergencies.
Hello, and welcome back to All Points Bulletin TV. We have with us on our show today Ms. Kyle Goodson. And with these cases, I really like our audience to make sure, I really want our audience to have the latest information. So is there anything that you can tell us about this investigation that has come, or anything that you know about?
Well, I can tell you, Kendall, the detectives are very, very, very scant with their information. They don't really tell us much of anything. I can tell you, though, on the day that he went missing, I was told by the detective that someone said they saw him get off the bus and go toward the somewhere into the complex. Not because I told you earlier that his backpack was found some months later, so he didn't go home because his backpack was not found in the house. So someone said that they saw him go toward the office. Not much of anything. The detectives won't tell you much, because then that might jeopardize the case.
Wow. So it's important for the audience members to know that whenever you have a case like this, to make sure that they really stay in contact with the detectives.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Okay. And that they can really help you put pieces together that you may not be able to provide. And have you heard like anything from any people that you know, any people that he knew?
I know that the detectives have interviewed many people, but no one has told me, none of his friends or anyone that he was in contact with before can say anything. They don't know anything.
Wow.
Greg was just not so much well known, but he just was a kid who didn't bother anybody. But everyone who knew him knew that he just didn't do anything, or they just couldn't understand.
And do you have like any last words just to remind our audience about your precious son and his spirit?
Yes, there is a $10,000 reward for whomever can provide information that would lead the detectives to whoever killed him. I would like to leave a legacy for my son. I one day would like to charter a bus to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And I myself would love to sit down with Wayne LaPierre.
Wow.
You know, he is the CEO of the NRA.
Right.
And he may not be moved by me, but Connecticut has visited him. Colorado has visited him. North Carolina needs to go now. And on this bus, I'd like to bring Alicia or Mrs. Price, everyone, so we can talk to Wayne LaPierre and let him know our struggle and how hard this is for us. And we need a law that's going to change this. And that law would be Gregory's legacy. It would be Mrs. Price's legacy, her son's legacy. It would be the legacy of everyone who was killed in gun violence. And I hope to do that. I started a GoFundMe page, and I hope that that will be something that will manifest from this.
Thank you so much
You're
for letting
welcome.
us know that. And if you have any information that can help further this case, please contact us, and we will put you in contact with the right person that will give you further information and get the information to the detectives. Thank you so much.
Okay, one of my fondest memories of my son is that I told you before that we were from the state of Connecticut, and Connecticut is right next to New York City, and that's no big deal, except that I often took Greg to New York City. He was a child model, and his first spot was a commercial with VH1, and that was so much fun. We went there one day, and they had everything out. They had a big trailer for all the parents to eat anything you wanted, and the kids, you know. And then he did his first commercial, and then he tried out for the three rascals, whatever that is. He tried out for many things, but then one of the biggest things he did was we went into the city for a high C commercial, and we went up to, you know, the buildings are huge, so we went up to probably a 13th floor, and we went into a large room, and there were kids all around. There were thousands of kids, and Greg was there to try out for this high C commercial, and I'd say about maybe 2 months later, Greg came home from school and he said, "Hey, Mom, Mrs. Rosella said she saw me in a magazine." I said, "Gregory, Mrs. Rosella didn't see you in a magazine." And then the next day he comes home and he said, Mr. Carter said he saw me in a magazine. I said, "Gregory, Mr. Carter did not see you in a magazine." And I laughed because it was funny to me. Then the next day he came home again and said, "Miss Lightfoot said she saw me in a magazine." I said, "Gregory, Mr. Lightfoot did not see you in a magazine." And I said that not to be cruel, but because I was not contacted by his agent or anything. He didn't tell me I mean, this was a commercial. There were thousands of kids. So, but then I went to the store. He said it, and I realized, you know, maybe he's telling the truth. So I put on my shoes and I went to Martin's News Corner, and I looked. He was in every single magazine. Good Housekeeping, Essence, Ebony, Parents. He was, and I think I brought 10 magazines home and said, "Gregory, anytime you say something to me, I will listen to you. I'll never rebut anything you say. If you say it, it had to be true," because he was in every single magazine. I was so proud. That was his starring time, That was a great time for him, and it was just wonderful for me. I was a proud, proud mother. But that was one of my best memories of Gregory.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it, I see it. Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
You taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
This new mom is struggling to get the skates just right. And now she's holding on for dear life. Her kids can see she may have broke her knees. They still love her though she looks like she's attacked by killer bees. I'm allergic. Proof you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Again, this is All Points Bulletin TV. If you have any further information, please use the contact information below, and we would love to hear from you. I'm your host, Kendall Adams. Thank you for joining us today.